camera and lighting are often responding to, you know, the scene in like a more subconscious level, you know. It's always like, there's always like an idea behind the camera movement, like, oh, like she's feeling really lonely and isolated, so the camera's gonna start like totally above her, or like be above her the entire time, and then, you know, or like we want to just accentuate like how many people are in this space, so let's have the camera on a crane pushing through with all these people crossing the foreground and crowding it. Just things to like really accentuate a feeling.
If we go to this party, you dress like that, I ain't gonna ever hear the end of it.
The whole point of Halloween is to look attractive.
We also had rules, visual rules. Like we had a whole dogma, essentially, of, you know, lighting, mainly lighting and color. Like the camera movement was like, you could kind of give it your own depending on the scene, but there was definitely like a lighting dogma and a color palette dogma, which sometimes, you know, we'd break it here and there, but overall it was pretty strict. We always had references. There was a lot of references for the show, visual references. You know.
And what happens in a month when she just wants to be friends?
You could break it down by that, like these films, this sort of, these colors, this sort of like, you know, like Todd Hido was like a big influence, and Petra Collins, like those are like some photographers that kind of influenced the look of the show. But then we kind of took those aesthetics, blended them together, and then gave it, you know, it had to feel a little bit more sophisticated than like a normal teen show, you know.
But I feel like I've poisoned everything.
The colors were all like, the palette was very controlled, you know. We used, you know, like, and they were often like contrasting colors. It was always like very particular, very specific. Sometimes we made lights just change colors in the middle of scenes, you know, or oscillate between colors. I don't know, we kind of had like this Hitchcock kind of element to it as well, as far as like the cinematography. Like, well, we're still going to move the camera a lot, but we're not going to do it with, you know, Steadicam. I think there's maybe like less than 5 Steadicam shots in all of the whole season of Euphoria. Maybe even less, honestly. We mostly used a crane. And then we started doing a thing where we just put the camera, was always on a dolly. But instead of laying track, we would just use a really good stabilized head and just lay it on the, and just put it on the floor. And if, as long as there was somewhat decent floors, we would just do all of our camera movements on the floors. It became tricky though, because there's really fast camera movements in Euphoria. Like, I mean, half of the time it's 2 people pushing the dolly as fast as they can. I'm used to shooting things more on location and like having all kinds of limitations, and I actually prefer that. I like to ground it a little bit more in reality. But with Euphoria, it was like, you know, I think that's something that Sam didn't necessarily want to do with the show. He wanted to put the camera in unique places and do camera moves that were all in. He wanted to do camera moves and, for a large part, camera transitions that were in camera. So, like, say, you know, you go from one, maybe the camera moves from one set to another. Sometimes we would literally build 2 sets next to each other so that the camera could do it in camera without having to, you know, stitch 2 shots together. Yeah. So, you know, when it made sense, we did it all. We did it in camera. It was a really hard show to shoot.
I can see.
It was really difficult. It was, you know, Sam Levinson, the showrunner, he always wanted to push everything, and I always have a concept behind everything, as far as lighting, as far as why are we shooting it this way, or like really just everything. It was always, what is the concept? Why are we doing it this way? And then let's push it further. Let's do it in a way that's really interesting and really difficult and really challenging and just really like brave. You know, he was always about like making choices that were very brave.
Every time I feel good, I think it'll last forever, but it doesn't.
One concept behind the show was that when you're a teenager, you kind of feel like you're the center of the world, you know, like especially nowadays with like social media and your phone and like people are like doing like their own like video blogs and like their own Instagrams where they have their fans and all that, and like they have their own lighting setups in their rooms and like, so like that was the concept behind the show, is just like make it feel like everybody is the star of like their own show, their own world.
From a very early age, Maddie knew she had something special. She liked her relationship with Nate. She knew no matter what he did, she'd still love him.
The actors on Euphoria are amazing. Like, I gotta say, like, for the level of, like Zendaya, for instance.
Yeah.
I didn't really know that much about Zendaya as far as, like, how famous she is or anything. I honestly didn't really know who she was. But apparently she's a megastar, and she's one of the most famous people in the world. But when you're working with her, you would never know that. She's so sweet, and it's really easy to work with her. She's a pro. And also, she's a pro, but she doesn't take it too seriously. Like none of them did. Like they'd be doing these incredibly heavy scenes where like, but somehow like you call cut and they just like snap out of it and they're just like go back to their conversation.